Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're at. I hope this video finds you in good stead. First and foremost, welcome to the Summer Online Public Speaking section, number 41. We're going to be the best section, I'm sure of it. My name is Conroy Stout. I am your instructor for this wonderful section as we continue forward. This course is a 6-week course. It lasts from May 23rd through July 1st. There's some things to keep in mind with this. You may have some friends, I'm sure many of you do, who are taking the in-person summer session of public speaking, and that course lasts 4 weeks approximately. So things may seem a little disjointed if they're in the first session along with you. This course is a little different in that it spans 2 sessions. So keep that in mind as you guys are working together, or maybe chatting about what's going on in class. There's some differences with that that we'll talk about a little bit later. Some things to consider in this introduction video, because that is what this is, an introduction to the whole course. I will be keeping this short and sweet, or at least I hope to. As we go through this, if you have any questions or things that I leave unanswered, or something that maybe you had a question about, we'll be doing a Zoom room check-in on Wednesday. So please write them down, keep track of them. Any questions that aren't answered here or when you've gone through your course material up to that point, please feel free to ask them when you do the Zoom room check-in on Wednesday. We'll be getting that done. And if you have any questions about what's going on with the quizzes or anything else, as we move forward there, that would be the time to ask them. So just bear that in mind as we go forward. Some things that we'll cover today in this video. Some course expectations for how you're going to want to approach this course and what's going on with it. Some online versus in-person, small differences that might go on with there. We already mentioned the Zoom room check-in, and that this is really kind of an adventure. This is only the second time that public speaking has been done online at the University of Wyoming, so there might be some things that have to be moved around. There might be some small glitches that go on. If there are, please let me know and we'll do our best to fix them really quickly. This is not the only section of online public speaking going on, but it is imperative that you let me know if something's not going well, because it might not just affect our class, but it might affect many others. So if you run into something, please do let me know. At the end of this, we'll run through the syllabus pretty quickly. All in all, this is a pretty self-directed course. So this is a 6-week course I already mentioned. In a normal summer session, about a 4 or 5 week course, each day equals about a week of class. In this course, it's almost a little worse. I know that sounds really daunting. It can be. Remember, because this is such a shortened time frame, it is a lot to do in a day. It's going to be a lot of heavy time load and a lot of heavy workload for you to really consider and keep in mind. But part of that is, as we get towards the end of the class, I know a lot of things seem to feel like they're piling up, and you may be taking another summer course or two as you're doing this. Do remember that at the end of the course, a lot of our bigger assignments are due, and so please keep in mind that you'll need to watch the lectures just as diligently at the end as you do at the beginning. And hopefully you're watching them pretty diligently at the beginning. I know I've taken some online courses back in my day, and towards the end of the class, I frequently would, sort of skim the video. It is not in your best interest to do so in this course. If you don't have the concepts correct, then your later assignments will reflect that in their grades, and that can be really detrimental to your overall grade. Some other things to really keep in mind is this is a very self-directed course, which is what I meant by it could be a little worse, right? Because if you don't stay on top of things, it's not like we have an in-person every day or 3 or 4 days out of the week interaction as we go through this course. This is very loaded on you. It's very student heavy, because you can go through this course pretty fast. If you want, you can just power through a lot of it very quickly. Watching the lectures, reading the book, taking the quizzes. It's very self-directed. There are only really 6 or 7 times that you have to have a day set aside to do something. That is the Zoom room check-in, speech 1, speech 2, speech 3, speech 4, and then the midterm and the final are only open for 24 hours each on the days that they're set. Other than that, it's very, very self-directed. You could get everything done pretty quickly if you wanted. Now, it might be better for you if you wait until, sort of pace yourself with the course. so that once you've gotten your speech 1 back, you can make improvements as you go forward, and you may understand the concepts a little better. But this is very self-directed, and that can be daunting. And I urge you not to fall behind, because if you do, it can be very, very hard to catch up. With that in mind, there are some deadlines. When you look in your course calendar, your course syllabus, as it populates naturally into your calendar, it'll have due dates, and it looks like a lot of things are always due Saturdays. And there are a few other due dates sprinkled throughout there, mainly in speeches and midterms and finals and such. But in your modules tab, there's a course syllabus. And in there, in plain text, it has a really, really strongly suggested way to go through all of these various quizzes and everything. Mind you, if you get it done by the due date, that's perfectly fine, but it is a lot to try and do on like a Saturday, or try and just catch up all on one day. I would really urge you to try and do a few things every day and try and keep on top of it, or go through at whatever pace you want. But if you miss a deadline, you miss a deadline, and that's that. Because we have such a shortened amount of time, there's no makeup work allowed really, minus with university excuses or something along those lines. With that, do also keep in mind that there are some differences between the in-person and the online course. We've already talked about a couple of them, but for instance, in the in-person course, you'll have workshop days where you go over speeches with your classmates and you all self-critique each other's and go through that. On this course, that won't be possible, because everyone has very different schedules, and this is a very flexible course for schedules, which is why it's also very self-determined in its timeline. So with that, you have many, many more quizzes and many points like directed in that direction, as opposed to some of the more workshops or in-class activity things we might do in an in-person class. So do keep that in mind. If you have questions, I'm of course available over email, or we can set up an appointment in the Zoom room. You'll become very familiar with that software as we go forward. You'll have to be in there about 5 times throughout this semester. So do keep that in mind. With that, if you have any other questions, please do feel free to ask, especially Wednesday. Keep them in mind. Sort of keep a notebook of things that you notice, or keep notes on what's going on. That'd be great. With that, we'll get into the syllabus here. I'll trust you to follow along or to read it yourself, but we'll do some quick glancing through the syllabus. That way we don't keep you on here too long. Again, welcome to public speaking. To do this, there are a few things that you have to have. You have to be registered as a University of Wyoming student. If you're watching this, you have access to WILE courses, and I'm assuming that you all are registered to have done so, unless there's a massive glitch in the matrix. Outside of that, you will also need steady internet. That is something that I cannot stress enough. Okay. When you do that, you'll have to be able to have steady internet for the Zoom room and everything else that goes with it. If your internet fails, we'll do our best to accommodate you, but there's only so much we can do, and if you can't deliver your speech, then your speech can't be graded. So do keep that in mind. If you're worried about Wi-Fi, maybe go somewhere or ask your family or your friends or your roommates or whoever's sharing your bandwidth to maybe avoid it for the duration of the times that you have to be on there. You do need to be able to present your speeches on those speech days. They're all listed out. So I will expect you to be free, minus a university excuse of some kind, and it would have to be one that I would be able to get over email from an official entity. You'll need to have a microphone, speakers, and a camera for this course, so that can all be self-contained within a laptop, or you might have a desktop set up with a webcam and some speakers and a microphone. However everything ends up working out, you just need to make sure you have those components. If any one of them fails on your speech day, we'll do our best. But again, if you can't give your speech, it's not possible for me to grade it, and therefore it ends up being a 0 or whatever we get out of it. All in all, I'm pretty understanding. We can work around things. I just need to know in advance so that we can try and accommodate you as we go. Two things you'll definitely need. You will need 2 books. Okay, that's 2. You will need a Concise Public Speaking Handbook, 4th edition by BB and BB, and you will need Speaking Out, a Public Speaking Workbook, the 9th edition by Roberts, Bingham, and Stewart. When you get those, I know you're going to think, why do I need a workbook if we're doing this online? We reference pages throughout the entirety of this module, throughout the entirety of this course, and all the modules. Many of the assignments you need to retype and turn into us are done through that workbook, and you have to have that workbook to really understand what's going on in the course, and you have to have the handbook to understand the content that's going on. So I would really, really encourage you to buy those online on the syllabus. You can buy online versions or you can buy the print editions, but either way, I would really urge you to match the formatting as closely as you can as we go through. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get closer to some of the turn-ins, turn-in dates, and some of the assignments that are much more heavy on the textual use. You'll also need, I should have mentioned this a moment ago, versions of Word. Okay, I only accept documents uploaded in Word files. So if it's not in Word, it doesn't count. Every student has access to the Microsoft Office suite, even for the Macs and the Macs and PC people. There's no war here. Every University of Wyoming student can download it to their machine. There's compatible editions for pretty much anything out there. Okay, so if you are having issues with that, feel free to call the IT support. I might even know where to go to download those things, but I only accept things that are uploaded in Word documents. Okay, no plain text, not through email. It has to be uploaded in the module, and it has to be uploaded in a Word document. So I just want to be very clear about that. There's some things that we'll talk about a little later too, to do with the Zoom room. As you go down in your syllabus, you'll see that there's online speech days. Because of the online format of this, there are some really rather specific things I never thought I would have to cover. I taught this online in the J term when we did this the first time through. Dress code. Please be dressed. It is amazing what that actually means to people, but preferably be dressed professionally. Be dressed as you would for a normal speech. For the check-in, just hang out, t-shirts, jeans, whatever. But for the days that you actually give your speech, please dress appropriately. Dress like you would for a business meeting or for a public speech like you would in any sort of setting. So just keep that in mind as you go forward. I'd hate to have the conversation again like, please, sir, I know it's summer, but put your shirt back on. It's not one I want to have. Outside of that, please be aware of your environment, okay? Keep barking dogs as far away from the camera as possible. If you have a lot of noise going on in the background, see what you can do to mitigate that. If we can't hear you, or if you're interrupting other people's speeches, that's a real problem, and one that I don't really think we should have to deal with in a course setting. Outside of that, make sure the stuff in your background you feel pretty appropriate with. Make sure you keep that in mind as you choose where you're going to set up. Some things to also keep in mind. I expect you to be able to set your camera up so that you can walk away from it and have free hands. So that generally means a laptop or a desktop of some kind. Giving your speech off of your phone is really not the best idea. Giving your speech off of your phone in the back of your family's car, or going on a road trip or in an airport is really, really going to be very difficult as we go forward. Okay, so do try to keep all of that in mind as that happens. Of course, I'm flexible. I know we all have crazy summer schedules, and all of us have places we're going and places we're going to be. But do the best you can, and do try to make the most appropriate you can. If you have situations or circumstances arise, please email me and talk to me beforehand, so it's not a shock to me or your classmates. And some of that is very practical for you, right? If you're traveling and you're riding in the passenger seat of a car, A, that's not very good for giving a speech. Nor is it very professional. And B, your 3G and 4G can run out real quick. So just all of that in the back of your mind, and just maybe try to keep a pretty stable location. I do expect you to be free for all of the speech days at the times that you pick. Speaking of, there are 4 separate groups that are available for the entirety of this course. When you pick a group, that is the time you are in for the entire portion of this course, okay? So if you pick group 1 is like 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., that means on every speech day, I expect you to be free from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. What you'll do is you'll get into a Zoom room. It's like a big online chat room. There'll be 7 of us in there. There's only 6 per group, and then there's me. And we'll all get together. You'll be able to see your classmates' facial expressions as you give a speech, but I expect you to be in there for the full time. This is not give your speech and run. You'll be in there for the entirety of the speaking time, okay? So please keep that in mind. Whatever time you pick is the time that you are with for the whole of this course. We aren't switching things around, okay? So just keep that in mind as you pick your courses. The dates for the speeches are May 31st for speech 1, June 6th for speech 2, June 14th for speech 3, and June 29th for speech 4. All of those are in Mountain Standard Time. So if you're traveling, if you're somewhere far away, that's fine. But do keep that in mind that it is on those times. And it's really, really important that you keep that in mind, because if you miss that time, it's going to be very difficult to make it up if we can make it up at all. It'll depend on people who are willing to switch with you. Okay? As we continue forward, this course fulfills USPs, the COM2. Okay? For the USP, I don't believe that this works for the O requirement anymore. It would work for the O requirement, but I don't think there's anyone with that problem going forward. If you are one of those, I'm sure it works. So there are 7 different course objectives as you scroll down, the learning outcomes that we have there. When we're talking about the oral communication assignments, there are 4 extemporaneous speeches. You'll also have several other assignments that you'll turn in to me as we go, including peer critiques, persuasive memo, and a persuasive fact value outline. All of those will be explained in time. Don't worry. I know that's a lot of information. So that's oral, written, and the digital communication. I mean, I should think that's pretty obvious. We're on an online class, and you're going to be using a lot of technology, including webcams, speakers, microphones, Word documents, PowerPoint slides for the last 2-3 speeches. So you'll get this. The speech days we already talked about. The grade sheets and the outlines must all be typed and sent in full sentence outline prior to when you give your speech. So I need those in the module inbox. So when you upload your assignment, they need to be in before you give your speech. Okay, I need to be able to see your outline. If it's not there, you won't speak, and you won't be able to give your speech. Okay, this is about being prepared and about having all of your materials ready, and you need to have that ready. And if you don't, I'm sorry, you may not speak. You can also use brief delivery notes as you go. That's like note cards like you would in a normal class. For the grading for this, we do an A, B, C, D, F course. There's no plus minus system in this one, so that's pretty self-explanatory. When you look at this, there's 50 points in miscellaneous assignments. The first speech is 20 points. The next speech is 100 points. Third speech is 100 points. The fourth speech is 150 points. Your midterm and your final are both 100 points. Critiques are 50 points. Your persuasive fact value outline is 60 points. Your written memo is 50 points. Your library research assignment, which is where you go into the library database and you really start to research and then give a speech on that for speech 3, and then you'll use that again for speech 4. You'll use more research and other things that you do with that. That's 20 points. The chapter quizzes as you go through are 220 points. So all told, this is a 1,022 point course. Things really start to stack up at the end. Your written memo, your persuasive speech, your fact value outline, they are all right at the end along with your final. That's 150 for your persuasive speech, 100 points for your final. That's 250. That's another 50 points for your memo. That's 300. That's 60 points for your fact value outline. That is 360 points over the last just little section of that course. All of those are in a line, one after another, and that's very, very important to remember because that is a lot of your course grade, all stacked in at the end. So it's really, really good to set aside some time and really put some effort into those because it shows when people don't put the time and the effort in, and then the grades reflect that, and it really can be a lot at the end if you don't manage your time effectively. With the critiques, I'll leave it to you to read those through, but there's a self-critique you'll be allowed to record yourself as you go through for any of these speeches. Just remind me and I'll allow the recording so that when you're giving your speech you can look at that. The same for all of your classmates. I'd prefer you'll have to take notes as they're doing it in person, because you're only allowed to record yourself during this. Okay. If you have any questions about that, we'll really talk about it as we get closer to speech one. I'll take a little bit of time out of the first Zoom session in that when we get together for our speech one to explain how the peer critiques work and everything else. Just note that you have them coming up, and you also have a self-critique that will come up. Academic dishonesty. This is something that's really, really important to keep in mind. Okay, I know a lot of people have to take this course, and I know that it's easy to borrow from other students or from your friends. That's really, really not good to do. In this course, if we find out that you have been essentially plagiarizing or stealing ideas or work from other students or people who've gone before, we keep copies of all the speeches that have gone on. That's grounds for failure in the course, and that is also grounds for being brought up on charges before the university, and that can have major ramifications. Just don't do it. It's a huge bear cat of an issue that none of us really want to get into. But things to keep in mind is just cite really well. Make sure you do your own work. It is always better when you do your own work. And I know it's really, really hard because this is a 6-week course. It's over the summer. You're busy. You have things going on. And it's really easy to just go find someone's work or to follow someone's work, borrow something you find on the internet and then just sort of put it in and think, you won't notice. Generally, it's pretty easy to see where that happens. And even outside of that, there's a whole other series of processes these speeches go through when I look at them. So do remember that, and keep in mind that just has a lot of ramifications for you personally, including just failing the course flat out, and it can have much stronger ones as you go forward. Okay. Presentation etiquette, we've already talked about that. Pay attention. Don't just doodle. Don't just stare off into the distance. Try and pay attention. Keep track of what's going on with your classmates. It's an important thing. They put a lot of work into this, as you do too. So it's good to remember that. If you have any disabilities from UDSS or anything else, please just let me know over email, or what's going on, what's with your situation. We can form to that as to help you moderate the course to best accommodate your needs. Just let me know. The course directors for this are Bo Bingham and Justin Stewart. I'm your instructor. Those are the way head honchos. They just make sure that it meets with all the USPs and everything else. Some things to keep in mind as you scroll all the way down to the end of your schedule that says tentative course schedule. Things can change depending on how things go and what's happening. If something happens drastically, we can alter the schedule minorly, but I would expect it to stay pretty static. As you go through all of these modules and course assignments and lectures, a good way to do this, and something to keep track of, is to watch the lecture and then take the quiz. Something to really keep in mind with the quiz is that it's only available once. You can only take it once, and guessing is not a really good thing to do. So watch the lecture, really read the material, and then take the quiz, because you only get the one shot, and you can't go back to the question once you've already answered on it. It's a really stringent setup, but it's really effective for the course and for people to do that, so that it's not just guessing all the way through. So do know your material before you take the quizzes. You'll see other lecturers who are helping with this course, or who are instructors doing the other sections in this course, giving some of the lectures as you go through. Bear in mind that they're all very, very knowledgeable and very, very able with that. If you have questions about some of the material, please feel free to email me, check your book, check with your classmates, check their understanding with it, and I am always available to make a Zoom room appointment. I don't have normal office hours for the summer, but I'd be happy to set up an appointment on Zoom as we go. With that, I think we've covered a great deal. If I've forgotten anything else, or if there are any questions that you that we haven't covered in this, or that haven't been answered as you've gone through reading that, please feel free to ask me on Wednesday, or to ask as we go forward. Any of that is available. I am happy to make appointments and do my best to accommodate your schedules. Welcome to the course, and I will see you soon.